Hello, hello. Welcome to Human Design Coffee Talk. And today we have Alok Diaz on with us. He is a 1-3 emotional manifestor. So come on in. I titled it Depth. We don't really have a theme because I have no idea what he's going to want to talk to us about today, but he just has a depth that is incredible. And let's see here. He's hopping on, and then Teresa will hop on. Hello, hello, everybody. Let's see here.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you hear me or any?
I can hear you. I cannot see you. I think the camera might be turned the wrong way.
What do you mean in the wrong way? Is there a right way to put it?
It looks like I can see a glass of water. Like you have.
Okay. Yes. Okay. How do I do this now?
Face the screen towards you.
I have this click towards me. I should have.
There might be a little button on the screen that looks like two arrows kind of opposite of each other, and just tap those two arrows.
Two arrows. Let me see.
It flips.
Yeah.
Yeah. There he is.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
How are you? I got a cousin of mine in here. Hello, Martin.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Welcome.
Since it is a coffee talk, I prepared some coffee for myself.
There you go.
Yeah. I have some cacao.
Some herbs to vaporize.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yes.
I don't know, I guess the best is you just get me talking, and I think it should be, life and human design.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanics of being human on this plane of ours, and anything. I'm okay. Just get me talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't prepared anything, and
You don't need to.
the reason why I haven't is because I don't really care. I mean, when you embody a knowledge that is so deeply rooted in the nature of being, then you don't have to remember anything or prepare anything. It's like truth and honesty will be good enough, I love that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, as an emotional person, it's the most comfortable for the spirit. Yeah, so you guys guide me. Or if you have, any interest you have, a question, anybody that is here with us, they may have a question. It doesn't really.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, there is a Q&A box that you can type it into so that I don't miss it in the comments. So anything that you might want to ask Alok, drop it in there. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, not only did our audience say, when we did a poll of who they wanted on, they were like, Alok. One of the things that fascinated me is I was on a road trip and I was listening to episodes on human design, and they were you had so much depth and so much knowledge, and it just feels like you said, it's just like living it and being human, and the way that you express your life experience is just the frequency of it just blows my mind. Listen to you talk all day.
You know what the joke is? That the depth is just the depth of mindfuck.
Yeah.
I find it so funny that I have so much knowledge and so much stuff. And when I'm having a bad day, all I can do is be patient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like in the whole human design, I just need to remember one keynote, because that's always, whenever I have a problem, that's the solution.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Anyway, paradoxes of
It's always so simple, and our minds make it so complicated, huh?
well, the thing, see, life is simple in a way. It's us. We are complicated. We love complicated. It's what our minds are capable of. We're capable of complex calculations. Okay. The bad thing is we don't know how to enjoy having a mind that's good at calculating.
Mm.
Okay, because mostly our mind is driven by fear. So instead of enjoying your calculations, you suffer because there's fear behind, and there seems to be much more at stake than you having more clarity on some days than others, because it's just how it goes. I mean, I live in a place where it's mostly sunny, and now it's been cloudy for 10 days, almost 2 weeks. What to do? It's like thinking doesn't get the clouds away. You wait a bit and the sun comes back. I've lived 61 years to accept something that I already knew when I was 30. It's just the older you are, the more prone you are to accept. The older, the experienced. It's just, this is what strategy and authority does. You keep applying it, and you just keep returning to the same place where you realize how dumb you actually are, I mean, how dumb being smart can be.
Mm-hmm.
When you're too smart for your own good, too smart to be happy. Yeah, jokes on us. So nobody has any question.
I thought I saw one, but they didn't put it in the box. So
Anyway, let me first of all, let me thank you for having me. Let me, the audience that voted for me. I'm always happy, to share some human design in the flow. It's most of the social life that I have is, human design sharing, which is actually a deep way to communicate, to share oneself. Because for the rest, I pretty much live here like in a one-man monastery. And so these are my nice social moments, just have a coffee on Instagram and
Yeah.
I feel the same these days. My whole life seems to be, or my whole social life seems to be with human design, and it's nice though. It's I find it easier to communicate with people that are willing to have these conversations,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, when you master the knowledge, I can have a conversation with anybody and not mention human design. I mean, just feel. See, the not self is actually cute. When you no longer give it power to determine you, it's very cute. Come on, human beings, we're childish. The not self is really childish. He wants to believe in good stuff. He wants to. It's cute. Even the worst not self, is somebody who loves their dogs, and if they can do something nice for their children, we humans, we're weird. We're weird creatures. We are. I mean, we are a weird mammalian. We are a mammalian who's concerned about God. I mean, that's extraordinary. I mean, to have a mind like ours, to be able to wonder about the relationship between the big things, the cosmos, and the small things, us, between the above and the below, and to seek for, we call it answers, but to seek the connection, because it's what we seek. We seek for the connection, between the part and the whole. And that's quite amazing for a mammal. I like you. Yes, even, if you think of war, this thing that we have with destroying everything so then we build it again. Even that is amazing. It's like, what? Really? I mean, it actually makes, it more acceptable, easier to accept that we are mortal. Do you know that when you see those things that life is not made to make sense? We're not a sense-making species. We're absurd. We are absolutely about the absurd. We actually make sense out of the absurd. Because there is no sense. We make it up. We make it up not to explain life, to explain our absurdity. We try to make sense of how absurd we are. We hate what we love. We want something and the opposite. We want something and then we don't want it. And then we want it again. And then we don't. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're really out of our minds. We are. And that's why we enjoy it so little, because with human design, you can actually realize we're helpless. We're helplessly trapped in a mental movie. Okay, if you surrender, you get to enjoy some of it more, but let's say you only suffer when it's unavoidable. Otherwise you suffer predictably. But it is part of our nature to suffer. We really are designed to suffer. We're not designed to be an awake species. It's very, very clear that the evolutionary forces never wanted us to be a happy species, an awake species, No, we're a suffering nest, and we blame each other for the suffering. It's your fault. If you didn't do this, then I wouldn't have done that. We're caught in that way of strategic thinking. And there's really nothing that can help us out of that other than what human design teaches us, strategy and authority. Because strategy and authority reminds you that you are alone in space. You're the only thinker inside your head, And in that, there is the beauty of having a mind. In that, there is the freedom of thinking only for yourself, not thinking for two, and certainly not thinking for three. You're not thinking for we, just thinking for I. I am the thinker, and everybody has their own I, and they can do their own thinking. No need to think for others. That's That's our redemption. That's our salvation. That's, despite the fact that the world is run by plural identities, we's, we are American, we are Ukrainian, we are Russian, we are this, we are that. There is room for, I'm not this, I'm Alok, I'm just me. Just to define my way to perceive life, my way to perceive what it is to be alive in the world, but also in the cosmos. What it means to be alive in the world, but with a perspective that is not disconnected from life. I am on the world, but in the world, but I am not of the world. I'm a cosmic tourist on vacation on planet Earth.
I love that.
I'm just passing by. Okay. I mean, it's as free as it gets. You still have to pay for your bills, which takes, it's why we don't feel free, because money and the material needs are so compelling. Okay, but then again, how smart do you need to be to make a living in these times? Do you know what I mean? It's just, how much do you need, really? We don't need that much, It's just that we're so wrongly motivated. We're so motivated to become what we don't need to be. Okay, that whatever you become, it disconnects you from your being. So it's not going to bring you satisfaction. It's not going to bring you peace. It's not going to bring you your signature. And then the more you move in that line, the more sophisticated your suffering becomes, But that does not going to bring you back the simplicity of being, because you have to be simple to just be, to just let go of the mind and rejoice your next breath. But you know that breathing is much more organic than thinking or even talking. Yeah.
Yeah. One question popped up, and it's something that we've all been wanting to know. So we're just wondering if you know, or maybe Ra told you, do you know the design of a mushroom?
The design of?
A mushroom, fungus, mushrooms. Like there's design of plant, there's design of everything. There's no design of mushroom.
It's not a plant.
It's its own thing.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
It's something that travels around the human design community often. Like, we need to know the design of a mushroom. So somebody asked, and I was like, maybe Alok knows.
No, I don't. I don't. And honestly, it never bothered me. I didn't need it to find my peace.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an open head question.
It is an open head question.
Yes. Oh, yes. There are so many open head questions. 70% are open head questions. Mamma mia. I mean, my depth comes from, drilling the same questions over and over and over and over and over again, just to see if the answers stand up. If the same question can be answered from all possible angles. Yeah, but mushrooms never showed up.
Somebody's asking a question if you would like to talk about your experience of translating human design material into your new book.
My experience of translating human design material. See, I've translated Ra Uru Hu live for 17, 18 years. that was that was an amazing experience, really. You know, I mean, he had a German translator. He was the German translator was the manifestor too, but he had the 1762 kind of mind, and it was amazing because this guy, I mean, Ra would talk for anything between 5 and 10 minutes, okay, and this guy would reproduce each and every word that Ra had said. I mean, it was like, how does he do that? For me, it was like, I would just take in the feeling of what he said, and then I said what he said my own way. Okay, but definitely not. I was not literal. I was not translating him literally, and it was an incredible experience because there was no time to think. It was just taking in the sound wave in English and kind of breathe it out in Spanish. Okay, and that was an incredible experience. That was an incredible experience. And then, when we were split because we would come together and work normally for days, sometimes, a week or even longer in the international events, it was sometimes weeks. Okay, I would translate everything. I would get really high. Like I would stay really high for a week long. Like something went into my, like I guess empowered. Okay, like an empowered frequency, and it was very clear that that was not my normal state. Actually, a week after or so, I would kind of find myself back to normal. Like this hypersensitivity or whatever wasn't there anymore. It was very, very incredible transformational experience. My book is when I met human design, there were no types, there were no authorities, there were no profiles, there were no crosses, there were no colors, no tones, no bases. There was only definition, no definition. That was it. And there was the cross of life. Okay, the sun above, the earth below, the south node behind, the north node ahead. This existential, this is basically the definition of anybody's perception of themselves in a circumstance. We come from somewhere, we are going somewhere, even though we may not know where that is, but the fact that we come from somewhere is pointing us in a certain direction. Okay, the sun above is who we think we are, and the earth below is how we walk the line. How we actually shape that inspiration. So I learned the gates, I did not learn the gates one by one. I learned the gates in pairs. And I learned them first through polarities, then I learned them as belonging to the same channel. So I very quickly developed a sense of what the polarities are. Know that in the body graph, every gate in the body graph has an opposite gate, and that opposite gate it's the most opposite, but the most complementary, like my left and right hand. Okay? That was the beginning of me realizing the depth that was there in the gates, beyond the channel that they belonged into, that the gates had a life of their own. Okay? And I worked with that. For many years, I did a course called Polarities. I did it in Spanish, I did it in English. And then at some point, I think, I learned the PTL3 over time, of course. I learned incarnation cross sequence. And then Ra came out with the Godheads. And when Ra came out with the Godheads, you know, he blew my mind many times, but that was one of the major ones. That was one of like, wow, and there is that, you know, because that really brought another layer of me understanding the sequence around the wheel. You know, I would have never thought that I would remember. You know, I can tell you now the sequence of the gates around the wheel. You know, oops.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. So, but that was all possible because of the Godheads, you know, and chopping the wheel down. So I could start penetrating the gates from the perspective of the hexagram structure, you know, the 6 lines, you know, to know the binaries, to know which, you know, that was like, wow, because that was entering a field of chemistry that was still mechanical, but was deeper than mechanical, because I understood its impact on our psychology. So with that in mind, I was invited to come and work in Oslo, and I proposed to do this course, the 64 Gates Around the Wheel. And I prepared for this course for a long time. I prepared lots of images that I photoshopped, and I combined the hexagram chop with the images. It was basically so that I wouldn't lack inspiration when I was there. And then I did this course, and it was wow. It was wow to do it. It was wow, you know, what came out, the feedback that I got. And over time, that course became this book. Okay, so this book is in a way a synthesized and edited version of that 4-day long course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, was that was Christo that invited you? Yeah.
Say?
Someone said that was Christo that invited you, yeah?
That was who?
Christo. I don't know. Someone just put that.
No, okay. No, it wasn't Christo. No. It was someone close to him, though.
Next question is, oh, where did it go? There we go. I gotta put another one up here. A favorite quote of yours is, "Words are so primitive." Would you like to talk about that?
Hey, Jan. No, we were going to have a session soon with Jan. We got booked 2 days ago. I just answered her today. Good to see you here. That's a very nice question, Jan, because this is an insight that I had pretty much at the beginning, you know, after my reading, when I started realizing what it means that there is a new form of awareness coming. Okay. And, me being a struggler and all, being a 1-3 with my open G and all this heavy mental definition, you know, I could quarrel forever. You know, I have fought with my partners until dawn, all night long, blah, 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 blah. You know, and the longer you speak, the more galaxies away you are from each other. The other one looks at you like you are from Mars or something, you know. Mm-hmm. And you look at them like, why is it so difficult to understand what I'm saying, right? And, well, I guess words was the only way I knew. I did not know how to surrender. I did not know how to love myself. I did not know And enough is enough. I did not know that that truth is much bigger than words will ever be able to contain. You know, I did not know at the time that truth cannot be open for discussion. Bullshit can be open for discussion. You know, things that don't matter, you can discuss forever. But what really matters, it just needs to be communicated. And there should be no discussion about. You know, my truth is something you respect or you don't. Finished. You know? And if you do, then there is nothing to discuss in it. And if you don't, there is nothing to discuss in it either. It's just, you know, I turn around and leave you with your truth and go away with mine. Because it's not, you know, I think being emotional, you know, it just kept bringing me back to this place where I realized, fuck, oh fuck, truth doesn't matter. I mean, my truth doesn't matter to anyone. It's not anybody's business, my truth. It is entirely my business. How honest I am. It's not anybody's business. It's my own business. How correct I am. I don't have a duty to be correct with others. It's a duty with myself. Because if I'm correct, well, you know, people are a lot nicer. Do you understand? They mirror my correctness, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm not doing it to please them. So all of this started with this sense that words are so primitive. And you see, before human design, I was 7 years with Osho. I was in a deep, deep emotional laboratory, you know, digging deep into my wounds, okay, not knowing they were there really. And you know, it's not like Osho didn't, he was Mr. No Mind and, you know, the body and meditate and this. But I just happened to have such a motherfucking mind. You know, I have, of the 3 channels between the head and the ajna, I've got 2.5 of them. And I'm talking about mental pressure. So, you know, this thing just wouldn't stop. It just wouldn't stop. And I did not know. You know, I didn't think I was a struggler. I was wondering why everybody struggles with me more than they struggle with each other. That's what I thought. You know, I did not realize I'm struggling with everyone. I didn't see that. I just saw everyone struggle with me much stronger than they struggle amongst themselves, because it's unconscious in me. Like my mind is unconscious in me. So when people would tell me, you know, you're so mindy, you are so, I did not really know how to not be so mindy. When I saw my design and I saw that my throat comes from my emotions, and my emotions are not connected to both my defined pressure centers, I realized why, you know, so many times in my life, I had this feeling of never again talking to anyone. Kind of like, it would be so nice to not need words to, you know, not only that, to realize that the deepest moments of communion with other people, there were no words. Okay, and in these nights that I would fight until dawn with my partners, you know, this feeling of, you know, wishing that they could read me, wishing that they would just know what's happening to me without me having to explain what I feel. You know, it's like, don't you know me? Don't you see me? What do you need to explain? You know? So it was clear to me that there was another way to connect with others and words are not needed. You know, they're an extra. It's nice to be able to explain, but it's not really needed. I mean, you know, the most important explanation is to explain yourself to yourself. You know, to be okay with the way your movie unfolds. To explain to others, well, yeah, but it's not really needed. And not only is it not needed, if there is no connection at a level that is deeper than the mind, normally, you know, words tend to be misleading, okay, and lead the conversation into the realm of projections and homogenized blah, 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 blah. You know, no coming back to silence, no silence as a leading thread for true communication. No, not talking, but communication, which requires, you know, communication doesn't happen because someone speaks. It happens because someone listens. You know, the one in silence is the one that's receiving something that's beyond the words, if there is substance to what is being expressed. Okay. And that was my intuition, you know, that if we didn't have a fluctuating solar plexus, if we were raves, no one would ever need to talk to me because we would read auras, we would read brains, because the aura is an externalization of the brain. You know, I mean, for me, my skin is just the outside of my brain. My whole body is a brain in the sense that my whole body is sensitive. You know, I feel with my body. You know, and when I say my body, I don't just mean the skin, the eyes, the, you know, all senses. They're windows. They're brain windows. And it's deep. It's much, much deeper than, you know, where words originate. You know, and it carries substance. What's happening to the body is always substantial. Words are empty cases. You know, they don't have a spirit. You gotta fuel them with your own spirit, and that comes from a place that is beyond words. You know, if it carries something of your essence, which for me is what you express when what you express is a combination of your truth and your love. You know, the love that carries truth and the truth that you love. That's basically, for me, the individual essence. You know, the truth of how we love.
Beautiful. Yeah. I forgot to add a disclaimer. Instagram has been kicking us off sometimes, so if it kicks us off in the middle of talking, we will hop back. Just to give you a heads up.
Say, Instagram.
Sometimes it kicks us off on the live.
Okay.
And so if it does, we'll just get on. I thought I'd
Okay.
hopefully
Okay. Okay.
Let's see here. Carla is asking, I'd like to hear about what you are witnessing with your personality nodes right now.
You mean what I'm witnessing with my personality nodes about humanity, the world, or about me?
Either. However you want to interpret that question.
Well, I'd say we're fucked. And, you know, I'm old enough to not take it too personal because I had my ride. I mean, you know, I had a very colorful life. And I have developed the ability to embrace my aloneness, even in the darkest moments, even when it feels sad. You know, it's kind of like, it's a cosmic sadness, you know? I'm not alone. I'm sad, but I'm not isolated. I'm not separated, you know? I'm not loveless, you know? Because I used to feel a lot of lovelessness when I spent a lot of time alone, but I didn't enjoy it much. You know, I did not know how. And now I do. I mean, whatever happens, I'm basically okay with the negative, the dark side of being me. But when I look at what's happening in the world, what's happening to humanity, I'm like, ooh, really sorry for those that have to live after me. You know? Well, starting with my daughter, she's 25, you know, and she has a personality, Sun Earth, in the same channel that my personality knows, a channel of community. So, you know, she brings the cross of planning, and she's gonna see the cross of planning just disappear just about when she gets her Saturn return. Oof. Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, I look at that and it's like, oh, my girl, you know. Then again, you know, we have our authority, we have our way to be rooted in life. She's an emotional generator, and I always treated her to be okay with being an emotional generator. So, you know, I guess you know, it's like now, you know, old people getting used to wearing masks on the street because of COVID. For young people, you know, it's like for young people, it's like, okay, you know, we got to do, if we have to do it, we do it. Okay, because they don't, for them, it's kind of like, if that's what's normal, okay, then let's do it. Okay, but someone like me, we have totally different references already of what is normal, and that seems so abnormal that it's kind of like there is more resistance. So I think that, you know, probably younger people have their own defenses, and will, you know, those that are equipped will be able to connect to life and still get empowered by life's tools. But the more you depend on the mundane, on the group dynamics, on the collective authorities and such, it looks bad. You know, it looks bad, it looks expensive. It's like the requirements to keep up track are raising, okay? And the level of freedom, the level of joy, the level of exoticism, that's diminishing. You know, it's like you have to do a lot more for a lot less. that's kind of my sense, more effort and sacrifice to just be able to keep your life, to cover your minimums. And see, that's already the way it seemed to be for me since I met human design and watching what's going on in the world. But since 2020 with COVID and the lockdown, and to watching, how dumbly we have managed, humanity, we managed that phase, okay, and seeing what's coming up now, it's so clear to me that, ever since Trump was elected president of the United States, it's like humanity is in a deep regression. It's like we have always been thinking in fear, but we're kind of under a panic attack syndrome. Okay, and I feel that so strongly, that there's just, fear, fear basically moving humanity's sensitivity, this drive of the part seeking for the whole. Okay, it's basically locking doors. You're not one of us. Get out of here. It's kind of like we're going back to cutting ourselves off from, becoming more and more insensitive to the needs of others, to social needs, and basically making sure our own are covered. In other words, going back to, very, very fundamentalist killer monkey thinking. I mean, or at least killer monkey acting, you still hear the sorrow, you hear all this empathy for Ukraine and a lot of people helping. So you can also see that war doesn't just bring out the worst of us. There's also so much humanitarian values that are coming forward, but not very creative. It's like going back to places we have already been and we were really hoping to have left behind. So that's what I see. I see a lot of shit piling up, and no management capacities to keep the expansion process going. So I guess I was never a fatalist, the mutation of 2027 makes sense. It's all logical. And I never expected it to be something fast. Okay. But watching the changes that are happening before 2027, I never expected that. If what's been happening in 2020 would have happened in 2027, I would have fallen on my knees and prayed to Saint Ra Uru Hu. You understand? Kind of like, wow, man, But to see all of this happening already 7 years before, it's like, wow. Wow, I can't imagine what it's going to look like in 2027. But it seems like that, like with everything else in human design, so many things that in the beginning I could only doubt, why 88 degrees? Why this? Why that? Well, it's the absolute of the form. It's like, that's how it works. It's how it works. It makes perfect sense when you watch it empirically. And I have been examining the human design basic constructs for 28 years. So when it comes to humanity's future, I can only say I wish human design was wrong. I wish, Ra was wrong with what the voice told him. I wish I was wrong with what I see coming. Okay, but this is this is clearly, the values that have been guiding the expansion of human consciousness, globalizing human consciousness, bringing the best out of being human and our readiness to collaborate. Okay. I think it looks like the best of that we have already seen, because, I mean, how dumb can you be? I mean, this COVID thing, there was such a lack of management skills, the World Health Organization, was so powerless, like no one was paying any attention to it. Okay, and right now with Russia and Ukraine, you see, everybody wants it to stop, but no one knows how. No one actually knows what to do or dares to do it. It's funny. It's funny, this dilemma that we seem to have of, either we let it happen or we risk total destruction. Okay. So who knows? Maybe this is just the first of many. I think once I heard Ra say that, see, humanity, the not self, has always been looking for singularity. Okay, and globalization meant that at some point we will all agree on something. Okay, we will all be okay with a way for everyone. Okay, that's what we hope for. That's what we think of an awakened species. That's what we hope for. That, we all agreed on something. It never happened. It never will happen. Because even at the homogenization level, we are about diversity. And Russians don't want to be like Americans. They just don't. Doesn't matter why. It's not just a reason. Main reason is they are not. It's not even that they don't want. They are not. Okay. So what we have is a very limited diversity. We have Russian and we have Ukrainian. We have American. You understand? It's just homogenized diversity. So I think what I remember Ra saying is that, eventually the world would divide in several blocks. It's like we have 5 bases, that we would have, basically 5 power groups. There's the Americans and whoever supports them. There's the Russian and whoever supports them. Who knows, the Chinese may be part of them or not. Okay, or they may create their own sphere of power. Okay, but that kind of makes sense to me. That instead of having one world organization, a health organization, we have 5. Okay, and instead of world business economy forum, that we have 5 different economical forums, because certain countries trust and support each other, trust each other enough to have business with each other, and they don't trust the other ones because they have totally different interests. And their win is your loss, because you either invest in that or you invest in this. That's kind of like my sense of how this will go. Something of this you can already see in politics. Most democratic countries, there used to be, the right party and the left party. Okay, just 2 main parties, and conservatives and progressives. Okay, the blue and the red in America or whatever. Republicans and Democrats. And in many European countries, it's been happening lately that you have the extreme left and the extreme right. Okay, and even somebody trying to play center. Like, okay, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm just, management, so to speak. Okay, there is a diversification which on one side evokes freedom, more choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the truth is that in praxis, it fuels mismanagement, difficulty in management. Because, if it was difficult to be government when there is only one party opposing you, okay, now you hardly make it to have a majority. And to become a majority, you have to make a deal with someone who has a totally different sensitivity and a totally different ideology, okay, which makes governing very difficult. Okay, because you can be questioned all the time. I mean, I'm kind of sorry for poor politicians in our times, because their incompetence is so obvious. They can't hide it anymore behind appearances, because we live in an area of information, and everything is quickly known. The information comes out, it leaks out, and so that makes it very, very difficult to manage the herd. To manage to fool people by giving them numbers. Because there is too many. You can't get everybody to agree on keeping a secret. There's always someone that's ready to leak it out. And of course, this is diminishing our ability to coordinate ourselves and our readiness to collaborate, to believe in, it's for the common good. Yeah, common good. Oh, no, someone's taking advantage of, It's like we don't trust these kind of ideas anymore, which individually speaks for how awake and aware we can be, but collectively it's an incredible handicap, because it makes functioning in an organized way much more difficult. So, we're growing in dysfunction. We're growing in dysfunction. I mean, this chaos we had with coronavirus and, locking people up, then letting them out, then locking them up again. Now you put a mask. Now you don't have to wear a mask. Now, like, what? What? Like, where's the science of this, So, yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at questions here. Is there any other guidance that you can give younger people for 2027 beyond strategy support?
Beyond follow strategy and authority. No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I could, I guess, but it would be deeply individualized. It would be deeply individualized. But strategy and authority really is all we need. Strategy and authority is a way to keep it simple, and like the song said, don't worry, be happy. I mean, it's not be happy, don't worry, enjoy your signature. That's, because that's what strategy and authority is. It's what keeps you out of thinking in a homogenized way, which is not thinking. I've said it many, many times. Human beings don't know how to think. They worry and they think they're thinking, but they're not thinking. They're worrying, which means they're suffering because they're intelligent. They're not suffering because there is a real problem. They're suffering because they're smart and they don't know how to make their smartness work for them instead of against them. They worry. They think in anxiety. So strategy and authority is a way to tell your mind, yeah, it's okay. But this is what matters now. You know, you may be right, but this is what matters. You know, just distinguishing what matters, what organically matters, from what doesn't matter. You know, theoretically, maybe it could matter, but in truth, in this moment, it doesn't matter.
Okay, another question. I thought I typed it. Here we go. Would you like to speak about your aura? Anything you'd like to share about manifestor?
Being closed and repelling.
You feel warm and fuzzy to me.
Same.
Say?
I said you feel warm and fuzzy to me, not repelling whatsoever. I'm here for it.
You know, when I'm up in my wave, I am warm. I am very welcoming. I am a super, you know, I can appear to be a super generator. Okay. Now, it's deceptive because the more I come across as warm and fuzzy to you, the more shocked you will be when you meet how cold and estranged I can be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how I can become somebody who has no friends, who has no family, who doesn't care about you, doesn't care about anyone. You know, it's there. It's there, and people on the street, they can see it. You know, I'm not easily approached by people. I sit in a bar here in this new village that I live, and I realize it's who I am. I sit at the table and I hardly raise my head. You know, I hardly give people a chance to see me and say hello. I mean, if it happens, I'm now no longer afraid, so I can allow that. Okay, I can kind of be warm and yeah, okay, hello, okay. Also because, I mean, I came to a place where I know nobody. I have no friends whatsoever, so it's kind of like, and I know now, it's like informing people, you know, I'm a lonely wolf, but I'm not a danger to it. You know, it's like, I'm a human. But it's there. It's there. You know, there is a separation. You know, there is a separation in the aura. You know, it's like manifestors. You know, Ra once told me, you know, you are a predator, just like me. Okay? Okay, it would make me, I guess, a hot predator and him a cool predator. But predators. Now, again, I mean, I liked the metaphor, okay, because it also matched so much the way I had been perceived by many, okay, and also the way I perceived myself, you know, feeling ashamed or guilty of being such a predator. You know, how much I care if I want something from you, how little I care if I don't need anything from you. You know, I mean, it's just very selfish. I mean, you know, it's so selfish that it's scary. Okay? Because it leaves you literally alone. You understand? So if you're afraid of being alone, you don't want people to know how selfish you are. You know, because they're going to go away. They're not going to be there waiting for you. They're not going to be there counting on you because they know that you can turn around anytime. Oh, that's scary. Because most people are not comfortable being alone, thinking of, you know, confronting their own monsters alone. manifestors, we have no choice about this. See, when your manifestor is really angry, everybody runs away. You know, there's nobody there to comfort you or to take your anger away. You know, you're the only one who can bring yourself back to peace. So there are certain fundamental social fears, the fear of being rejected, that every manifestor has to confront. And at some point come to the place that, you know, you don't like me, boo, so what? You know, it's like, I'm not here to be liked by everybody. Okay? That's for one thing. Then the other thing is, you know, you can be a healthy predator. In other words, know how to take care of yourself, know how to feed yourself, okay? Not depend on others for those matters. And once you know how to feed yourself, well, you know, a well-fed predator is a peaceful creature. You know, when a manifestor's needs are fulfilled, they don't need to carry any sort of hidden agenda. Okay, and then the aura can be repelling or not. After all, one of the three manifestor channels is called the channel of openness. Okay, but it is openness or not, and it's very individual. Okay, so I can be very open, okay, because I want something from you. So, you know, there is a bridge that can be established. There's a bridge that can be established. But it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be there. See, the repelling effect of the manifestor is that most human beings are compelled to try and be nice, to try and be nice, even with people that you don't like. Okay? In other words, to try and appear to be civilized, more, you know, for manifestor, that's kind of like anti-natural, because if you're nice to someone you don't like, this person is going to insist on talking with you. And, you know, you really want them to not think, you know what I mean? So you don't want to be nice. You know, it's kind of like you don't want to deny yourself for someone to think that you are what you are not. You know, it's playing a fake game. And anger is just too obvious an emotion to go against it. You know, frustration is actually designed to be able to make this, you know, to get along with people that you don't necessarily commune with. Okay? But anger, no. Anger is a separating emotion. Okay? I have a whole, there's a lecture, bit of publicity for my product.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful lecture on my website. It's called The Solar Plexus, an Insight Transformation. And in that, I explain a very basic principle about the solar plexus. Union, separation. Okay, and how the union comes from gate 6. You know, union is a generated thing. Okay, when you go to the polarity, the 36, okay, this is about separation. You know, this is the gate of crisis. Okay, this is the gate where, you know, yesterday we were happy, and right now the best we can do is split apart. Okay, so anger is the fuel for differentiation. You know, it's the power to separate from anybody else's movie and say, I don't agree, I'm not coming with you, I have my own whatever. So, Anger is actually not bad. You know, like frustration is not bad. It depends on the management. Is anger, you know, is your anger childish, blind, and with no sense of proportion? Or is your anger something that is proportional to the circumstance? You know, because anger is a destructive emotion, but there are things that need to be destroyed. Okay, such as false devotion, false sympathy, false propaganda, false love, false truth. Okay, anger is a way to keep aloof from that. Okay, and to keep aloof from being conventional. Okay, because when you are conventional, when you are civilized, you are supposed to let someone take you for granted to a certain extent. You understand that you're going to follow certain rules of kindness, of niceness, of so-called respect, of, you know, tolerance. Okay. Anger is saying, I'm not tolerant. Okay. I either accept you or I don't, but it's not about tolerance. So, and manifestors, they're being removed. They're really being removed. Anger has become an illegal emotion. You know, if you go around displaying your anger, people can call the police. Whereas you can display bitterness, frustration, and disappointment. It's okay. You know, you're going to find some people that are solidary with you. You know, they understand your frustration. They understand your bitterness. But anger doesn't easily find allies. Okay, and yet it is the mother of individuation. But the not self does not like individualism. You know, like it doesn't like egoism. As a matter of fact, for the not self, egoism and individualism can be seen as pretty much the same, you know.
Yes. We've got lots of men in the comments who are like, yeah. I want to make sure we're doing okay on time and honoring your time a lot. Are you good for another question?
Yes. Yes. I was checking myself what time it is. Oh, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Here's a fun one. What advice would you give to someone who just recently was introduced to human design, started their experiment?
Don't try to learn human design on Facebook.
Or Instagram.
Or Instagram. I would advise them to get a reading from someone that they trust. Okay, and if that doesn't do it, because in a good reading, you should get enough information to live your design, to at least start an experiment, at least if you're an energy type, you should get everything you need in an individual session, you know, to radically change your approach to life. If you are not an energy type, if you are a projector, for me it is, I never tell an energy type, not even by chance do I mention or suggest to them to study human design when I'm doing their first reading. Ever. It doesn't come to my mind. But when I do a projector, I feel it as a responsibility to tell them that there is no way for them to know if any of what I'm telling them has absolute value or is just nice talking. Okay, and that the only way for them to know if there is absolute value in what is being said is that they need to be trained at least at the general training level, because that's the minimum for them to be able to see with their own eyes the value of the mechanical absolutes that human design represents. To actually see with their own eyes, how all generators are frustrated. Okay, how all manifestors are defined by what makes them angry. Okay, but that's what I would do.
Yeah. I have a projector husband, and he's had a reading, and he's like, it's great information, but I feel like I need to take the foundation courses. And he doesn't even want to study human design. He's like, this helps me understand others so I can understand myself. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do.
Well, it's what it is. If
Yeah.
you are a projector,
Yeah.
that's how you make sense of what happens to you. Which is, see, I'm a manifestor, and everybody I meet, I get a different vibe. Okay, some frequencies are similar to others, but they're all different. They're all unique. And I'm a manifestor. If you're a projector, wow. See, you're here to specialize on, wow, how different it is to interact with this person or this other person, and to be able to synthesize all of that human systems through a mechanical structure. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. Yeah. I think, there's too many people now. They meet human design, and 2 weeks later, they already thinking about their colors and their tones and their variable. And it's like, I'm sorry for these people. See, I was very fortunate because for 4 years, all I had was defined, not defined, the cross of life. And then slowly, the types came in, and then 2 years later, the authorities, and then 2 years later, the profiles, and then 2 years later, the incarnation crosses. So I really had time to assimilate everything and to see how it was like a building, built from the foundation and then putting new layers on it. And it gave me time to see that each layer, once the types were there, okay, so it would give me time to ponder how the same profile would express itself so differently in 4 different types. Or how the same kind of authority would express itself so differently in 4 different types. And I had time to ponder, how could it be for a generator? How could it be? You understand? But now you just find all of this information at once. You put it up there in your head. And then you end up doing and saying stuff that is scary for me when I read it. I was reading lately, someone posting about Michael, the sun is now transiting the gates of the Godhead Michael. And instead of describing Michael as a conditioning agent that fuels the not self, they were describing Michael like Michael is your protector, and Michael is going to take your fears away. And I'm like, and this is someone trained that I consider to be smart, someone that is deep in the knowledge. I mean, yeah. So.
What a trip, huh?
Gotta laugh at it.
Well, some days I laugh, other days I can't avoid it. It pisses me off.
That's
it's just, at this point, I give up. It's like, what to do, It's the way it goes. So I'm sorry I don't know what people get. I guess everybody has their fractal, and I guess we all depend on our luck. Okay, but as the knowledge spreads, and it has spread faster and further than I would have ever thought, there is all kinds of let's call it creativity in how things are being interpreted and what to do.
Yeah.
What to do. I mean,
The next question is from Jen. She'd love to hear what it was like to have first line resonance with Ra 5-1 and 3.
that was amazing. That was amazing. I mean, Ra and I, it's good we weren't gay. Because, yeah, I love the guy. I mean, literally, I was in love with him.
Yeah.
I was in love. I was in love with like I was in love with Osho before him. I was in love with what he inspired in me. Okay, I was in love with the possibility of what he represented. But besides that, I really admired his way of being authoritarian, his way of being a male, so incredibly male. My father was very young, okay, but my father was old school. He was a violent man, especially with me, his oldest son, and a manifestor and all, spoiled by the mother, so I guess he had to put me right. And Ra was even more young than my father, but he was a gentleman. He was so cool. His way to be male had nothing to do with the size of his balls. It had nothing to do with being more or less than anyone. It had nothing to do with who he was for others. It was all about who he was for himself. And that was so, wow, so inspiring, so noble. Just noble, And then he had these lyrics. He was a musician. He sang. I loved songwriters. And his lyrics, his poetry, it was so human design. Just no logic to it. And I had many, many chances to listen to him the way a lover would listen to her or his musician friend play after lovemaking. You just sit there and they play for themselves, but they let you listen in. And it was amazing to watch this guy live out his karma, know all of the stuff that he knew and be so humble, just be so humble. So he had 11 first lines, and me being a 1-3, we had a very powerful first line connection. His notes, his north node in the first line of gate 2, I have the first line of gate 14, and I have the first line of gate 5, which is my personality sun. And then, I'm a struggler to all his splenic definition. It was highly empowering. There was all this knowing inside of me, and I could have never trusted that because it was just too crazy. He just brought structure to my craziness. And the first line, it was amazing. It was amazing because, see, I remember we once went to Madrid and we did a lecture in a place where they were doing these things. There were over 100 people. Nothing. We sold nothing. Not one reading. We just had a grin on our face. We were kind of like almost understanding that these guys, they weren't ready for it. This was a place where people would go to lectures because that was their way of being social. Today there was human design, tomorrow they had something else. Okay, and at that time Ra was deeply into the neutrinos and the protons and the most people did not even know how to follow that. But other times, going to Germany to an esoteric fair and the same, like no sales really, losing money and never a complaint, never you're just this. It'll take time, you just have to get better. I can explain what it is. And, very humbling, very, very humbling. And also, most people with Ra, they were blinded or, fascinated, I guess, by his fifth line personality. Okay. I wasn't. I mean, what I really liked about him was how human he was, how fragile he was, how helpless he was, which I could totally hear from his poetry, from his songs. Okay, I could really feel how he was just living with that because that's what had been given to him, and it was a challenge. And he lived that out in a very poetic way. And I just saw the man, I felt the man, I loved the man, and I loved how unpretentious he was, behind the who thing, okay. He was incredibly human, incredibly sensitive, humorous, I loved the human in him. And most of the time we spent together when we were not working, we were just cracking up, basically, smoking some joint and cracking up, basically, at the silliness of it all.
Did Ra bridge your split?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Deeply. I actually, there was a relief, when we would split up, we would meet together and maybe do an 8-day course in training. And I tell you, there were 8 days, like spending 8 days making love with your lover, kind of like, but at some point you're happy when you just get a chance to gather yourself again. Mm-hmm. So yes, he bridged my triple split very, very powerfully. And at some point it was enough because it was all him. Do you understand? I mean, I would become Ralok. Do you know what I mean? My life would disappear. I was there for him, I was his translator, but, I would also make sure he's okay and he's not missing anything and if he needs, and also enjoying having an informal, conversation with him. So it was all about him. And so it was also nice when, our auras would split and I would kind of like go back to being a normal human being, within my standards of normality at the time. It was just the stuff was shocking, to take in. I am designed to question the absolutes because of consciousness. I'm not designed to take absolutes. So, and there I was so determined with this knowledge, but I couldn't believe it. I was just in awe. I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. But believing it was so, I engaged deeply. And at some point I also needed to just shake it off my head and feel it, breathe it, and not take it for granted, and allow myself to ground myself in the fact that I'm emotional. I'm not the messenger of the voice. I'm just a human design student. Okay. So because he was 24/7. mean, he did nothing else. Okay, and when we were together, I did nothing else, you know. So when he would split, I would kind of dose myself differently, you know. After all, I had to digest all of this. It was an incredible process.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I
Yes,
really,
indeed.
I really resonate with that. Teresa, which is my split, and I feel that when I'm with her.
We become one.
We become one. Like I'm just like, ah.
Uh-huh. So you were Brandy.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. Don't know why.
No.
Okay. What are
Yeah.
your designs?
What?
What are your designs?
I'm a 4/6 MG split. I have 21/45 split off of my sacral channels, 34/10, channel of struggle, fun stuff.
Triple split.
No, I'm just a
Triple.
single, or I'm a double.
Okay.
I'm just a regular split.
Well,
And
yeah,
Teresa,
that's a powerful split there.
is I'm cross of tension too, and you can tell them your design.
I'm a 2/4 emotional manifesting generator with 7 defined centers, but single definition.
Oh, yeah. Cross of tension.
Struggle too. I'm also a struggler. Cross of Eden.
Cross of Eden, not of tension.
She's tension.
I'm tension.
Your tension and your Eden. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
One of us has to be looking for Eden, I guess, amongst all the tension.
It brought up something that you see, we could have talked about that. I guess no time for it anymore. But we can do another time, sometime later in the future.
We'd love to do that.
I would love to have a chat with you around group dynamics, Penta and Wa.
Yes.
Because that's really something to be warned against.
Yes.
Okay, for instance, you with your money line and the whole integration and struggle, if that's split, that's a huge split. That's a huge split, you know, the whole integration and struggler saying, I don't give a fuck about anyone. And the 21/45 saying, well, I have to care for everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
I have 2750 too.
The what?
I have 2750.
Oh, wow. That makes it subtle.
Oh, she cares for everyone.
Yeah, which is okay, but from where? You know, is it coming from the I have to, or is it coming from spontaneous response?
Right.
It's so subtle. It's so subtle, you know. And to be able to see these things in anybody's design, that's kind of wow. I mean, that's when you can really you can have deep impact on somebody with 1, 2, 3 sentences that, you know, reveals what's there. I mean, Penta and Wa, the distorting power they have on our psyche, that's quite something. And I think it is not well known yet. I mean, it's been now 10 years that I'm putting it out any chance I have. And I know it's not out. Okay, I know because of how it's received when I put it out. You know, there's so little knowing of how deep this thing is, you know, after all. If you look at the core of the human condition, you know, our perception of I am is in conflict. You know, the conflict is in between who I am for myself and who I'm supposed to be, you know, in order to fit in with the group. That's the basic conflict. And when you have definition in Penta or Wa channels, then you really embody this conflict. Okay, at a deep, deep level. And of course, strategy and authority is the only thing that can free you from that moral cage that it creates.
Mhm. I would love to hear about that more.
I'd love, we'd
Yeah,
love
we can,
to do another
we
one
can,
sometime.
we can do it exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
we just connect, and later on in the flow, we just improvise it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
It's
Yeah,
been a
this was
pleasure.
amazing. So amazing.
It's been a pleasure to share my coffee. It's done now. So
So I guess it's
And
time.
people can connect with you via your website, yourownauthority.com.
no.
No.
Well, yes, can, but then it will be indirect. Best is Alok at yourownauthority.com. I mean, the same website, dominio, they call it in Spanish, but just with my name before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have courses on your website. You're doing like LYD XL.
I'm doing everything, but then I'm doing it as I try to not, to change, so I don't get bored from repeating the same stuff again and again. And then each time I come back to the same, just dig myself a little deeper. So at the time, I am doing a Living Your Design Guide training and a PTL2, finishing a PTL2 training. And I'm doing the Program is Not Your Life, which is a year-long course on transits and stuff like that. And that's what I'm doing now. So, yeah.
And your new
But
book.
Yeah.
And people can order that from your website.
No, you can only find it on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, both of you.
Wonderful afternoon or evening, because it's evening there.
Yes. Thank you, everybody else, for being here. Nice to hang out with you all for a while.
Yes.
Bye.
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 How do I get out of here now?
I'll show you. I'll show you.